Hi, this is Rudy Jones of PalmettoStateBaseball.com. Welcome to That Was the Week That Was in South Carolina College Baseball for February the 23rd through the March the 1st. I try to do this every Sunday night, take a little look back at the previous week, and then a look ahead at the next week, and then also include my team rankings, the Palmetto Pulse as to who I believe is hot and who's not, some other happenings maybe on and off the field, and just try to do a little bit of publicity for the state of college baseball in the state of South Carolina. Of course, you can follow things at PalmettoStateBaseball.com. I also do a lot of tweets or X posts under the handle of Palmetto Base. Well, let's take a look back at last week for some of the noteworthy items. On Tuesday, Denmark Tech got its first win since 2004 when it beat Community Christian College of Snellville, Georgia in Game 2 of a doubleheader by the score of 12-4. The two-year school had dropped baseball after the 2004 season. No way of finding out when the last win was. There's not much in the way of records for junior college baseball, especially a program that hasn't had a team in over 20 years. But anyway, that was a nice win for Coach Isaac Wilson III's team. He said that, a lot of this what is happening is a lot of hard work by his players is paying off. And he's excited about the prospects for the future as they continue to progress. So nice win for Coach Wilson and the Panthers as we go on from there. On Wednesday, the biggest news probably was South Carolina losing to Queens by a score of 9-8 in a game down in Columbia. It was the first time Queens had ever beaten a school from a Power 4 conference. They were 0-17 before Wednesday night. The Royals were only 9-44 last year. And so that was a real big win for the program. The thing is, I'm not sure where the program's going after this year. The school is going to come up with some kind of merger situation with Elon. I do not know if they're going to continue to have a baseball team on the Charlotte campus or not. But if they go out, that was a win that they'll remember for the rest of their lives for the players. For the Gamecocks, not so much. They got down big early, got within a run in the bottom of the ninth, but could not get that tying run across. Created a lot of discontent with the Gamecock fans, of course, as that was going on. Also on Wednesday, Erskine had a nice rally in the 8th inning, scoring the go-ahead run on a throwing error at home, then adding 2 more runs later in the inning, and beating Lander in a rivalry game over there. It's a nice win for the Flying Fleet. How about the weekend? Of course, the Clemson South Carolina series was the big news over the weekend. Carolina got a tremendous performance from Josh Gunther as he started the Friday night game. Big rain delay of almost 2 hours. Gamecocks win that game by a score of 7-0. Gunther struck out 10. Then Alex Valentin came in and struck out another 5 in 2 innings for the Gamecocks to give them some momentum going into Game 2 against Clemson. However, in Game 2, Michael Sharman, maybe not quite as flashy, but he was extremely effective as Clemson won that second game of the rivalry 4-1 over at Seger Park in Columbia. Sharman, and I just can't believe these numbers, he threw 78 pitches in a 9-inning complete game. 67 of the pitches were strikes. He only threw 11 balls over 9 innings. That is just amazing. But, hey, it is what it is. In that game, Nate Savoy hit a 3-run homer, but proved to be the difference in the game. Tigers win that one 4-1. And then, of course, on Sunday, Clemson wins that game by a score 7-2. They spot the Gamecocks 2 runs in the second inning. They quickly come back and tie it. Gamecocks pitchers are having some trouble with control. Take the lead in the fourth, add a run in the take the lead in the third, add a run in the fourth, 2 more in the sixth, and they wind up winning at 7-2. Third straight year that Clemson has won the Palmetto series against the Gamecocks. Tigers are 10-1, and Carolina is 7-5. How about elsewhere on the weekend? Benedict has won 8 straight games. They won 7 games over this past week. They had a series against Lane pushed back because of weather the previous weekend, so they moved their Sunday game to Monday. They won 2 games won 2 against Payne on Tuesday. Then over the weekend, they won 3 over Kentucky State. And the Tigers are playing very well. They're 8-3 overall, 6-3 in the Southern Intercollegiate Athletic Conference. And as I said, they've won 8 straight games. Also, Coker's really struggled this year, but they had a nice South Atlantic Conference Series sweep at Virginia Wise over the weekend, winning those 3 games. Winthrop has won 7 straight games after dropping a couple in the first 5 days or so of the season. They got a weekend sweep of Maine. They had to break a tie late in the game on Sunday to complete that sweep, go 9-6. USC Aiken scored 10 or more runs in all 3 games of a Peach Belt Conference Road Series at Flagler in a sweep for the Pacers. And Charleston Southern likewise continues its red-hot start. The Buccaneers are now 10-1 after 3 wins over Brown over the weekend. And again, the Buccaneers scored 10 or more in all 3 games. The Citadel getting the Tough Luck Award for the week. The Bulldogs went down to Florida State, gave up 5 unearned runs in game 1 of a doubleheader on Saturday, lost the game 6-2. They got beat in the second game by a score of 2-1, I believe it was. They gave up 2 unearned runs there. And then on Sunday, they were shut out on 2 hits, 2-0. I know if you'd have told Russell Triplett before the game that his pitchers were only going to give up 3 earned runs in 3 games against Florida State, he'd have probably told you that he felt pretty good about the chances of winning at least 1, if not 2. But again, tough luck for the Bulldogs. Again, it's a thing, I'm sure, even though they lost all 3, it'll help their confidence, and they fell to 4-5 on the season. Off the field, Tim Wallace was honored at Spartanburg Methodist in between games of Saturday's doubleheader against Johnson. The former Pioneers coach who died last year after a short battle with brain cancer had his number 11 jersey retired in honor of him. Tim was a great coach. He's a member of the National Junior College Athletic Association World Series Hall of Fame, some other Hall of Fames like Wofford, which is his alma mater. Did a lot of good things over at Spartanburg Methodist, turned a lot of players out who went on to 4-year schools and others who went into the pro ball. Tim was a great friend of PalmettoStateBaseball.com. Tragic the way he died. He just, he told me when he first stepped down about this time last year that, he just started feeling poorly, being unable to do some things he normally could do without effort. And unfortunately, it got him from there. Cancer is such a dread disease. I'll be thrilled. I'll praise the Lord the day that cancer finally is cured as we go from there. How about the team honors for this past week as to who did what? I picked Benedict as my team of the week. As I mentioned, the Tigers went 7-0 for this past 7-day period. They are now 8-3 overall. They are batting about .340 as a team. They've got 22 home runs in 11 games, and they have 9 players with 20 or more at bats so far, and 8 of them are hitting .313 or better. So they're doing awfully well. Good win, good start for Coach Selwyn Young's team. They usually are known for being a bunch of base stealers. They've stolen 21 bases in 11 games this year, but they've relying a little bit more on pop right now, as it seems. How about the Palmetto State baseball team rankings? A few changes, things going on. I got Clemson State at number 1 in the Division I school rankings. Of course, they went 3-1. They're now 10-1 overall. Charleston Southern I have staying at number 2. They're also 10-1 after a 3-1 week. I have Winthrop moving up from 6th to 3rd. They've now won 7 straight games. Coach Mike McGuire's team is 9-2 after going 4-0 this past week. Coastal Carolina have them dropping down 1 to 4th place from 3rd last week. Chanticleers won 2 games over the last week. They beat Campbell. Then they lost 2 games out in Houston in the Bruce Bolt Classic, and then beat Ole Miss in a nice win on Sunday. They're 7-4 overall. Of course, they got the bad news during the week. They lost 2 of their pitchers, going to be out for an extended period of time. Number 1 pitcher Cameron Fluke and reliever Hayden Johnson are both expected to miss at least 8 weeks because of injuries, but they are expected to get back, and so the task for the Chanticleers now is just kind of keep things close until they get their guys back into a condition where they can help contribute to the team. Number 5, I have at South Carolina. They fell a spot from number 4 last week. Of course, they had that, only way to put it is really a awful loss to Queens. midweek, and then they lost 2 of 3 against Clemson. Some of the same old bugaboos are hurting the Gamecocks. They're not getting many runners on, and when they do get them on, they can't get the key hit. They're just not hitting well with runners on base when they do get them on. Carolina's 7-5. The Citadel dropped down 1 mainly because Winthrop hopped them. Bulldogs went 0-3 last week. They're 4-5. They fell from 5th to 6th. And USC Upstate, I have staying in the same place. They're 3-2. They went 3-2 last week, 7-4 overall. I'll make that 7-6. I'm sorry, I did not update that number. Lost 2 of 3 to Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern was winless going into the weekend, and then won 2 of 3 against the Spartans. At number 8, I have Wofford. That's the same as I had them last week. They're 3-1. They lost to St. Joseph's in their final game of the weekend series on Sunday. Number 9, I have at College of Charleston. The Cougars got a game washed out midweek. Then they lost to brain cramp. Sorry about that. They lost to East Carolina. I'm sorry. Did not get a game rained out with it. Lost to East Carolina by a score of 8-7. It was a tight game, and the Pirates pushed a run across late in the game. The Cougars won on Friday night over James Madison 8-7 in 10 innings, and lost to Illinois on Saturday. Got shut out. The Cougars are now 4-7. Presbyterian lost all 4 games this past week. They fell to 2-10, and unfortunately they lost their last 10 games. In NCAA Division II, North Greenville and Francis Marion just had a Jim Dandy of a series. The Trailblazers and Patriots were ranked 1-2 in the state rankings last week, and that stays the same this week. In that series, North Greenville won the first game on Saturday. Francis Marion came back to win the second game on Saturday, second game of a doubleheader. Then on Sunday, Francis Marion had a 6-0 lead after 1 inning, but North Greenville just exploded for a 29-11 win to win that series and move into a deadlock with Francis Marion in the Conference Carolinas at 7-2. The Trailblazers, the coach Landon Powell, are 16-2. Francis Marion fell to 15-3. Again, they stayed 1-2 last week. Also staying at the same space was USC Aiken. They went 3-1 last week, 14-3 overall, stayed in 3rd. Lander stayed in 4th place. They also went 3-1 last week, got a sweep of Claflin after that loss to Erskine. The Bearcats are 12-6 overall. Newberry stayed in 5th place, even though they went 2-2. They lost a couple of games to Emory and Henry. The Wolves are now 11-7. Anderson stayed at 3-1. They were on the verge of sweeping Carson Newman in a series, but on Sunday's game, Carson Newman scored 8 runs in the 9th inning to win it 11-6, and that dropped the Trojans to 3-1 for the week and 13-5 for the season. Erskine, I have moving up 1 spot from 8th to 7th. They went 3-2 last week. They got a couple of wins over Emmanuel, and they are now 7-13 on the season. Also, Benedict, I have moving up from 10th to 8th. After going 7-0 last week, they went 8-3 on the season. Again, moved up from 10th to 8th. Coker moved up from 9th, or stayed at 9th, excuse me. They went 3-1 to win that series at Virginia Wise, swept it. They're now 4-13 after what was just a really tough start for the Cobras. Southern Wesleyan dropped 3 spots from 7th to 10th. The Warriors were 0-4 last week, and they're 5-13 now. USC Beaufort dropped from 10th to 11th. The Sand Sharks 1-3 last week, but they fell to 4-13 overall. Claflin stayed at 12th. They were 0-3 last week, 3-12 on the season. They've lost 10 straight games. Among the NAIA and National Christian College athletics teams, Spartanburg Methodist played 3 games against Johnson. The 3rd game on Sunday was particularly close. They had a chance to win it in the bottom of the 9th, couldn't get a run across, and the Pioneers got swept in that series. They're now 6-9, but I still have them at number 1 among schools in that classification. Number 2, I have Bob Jones. They got a couple of doubleheader splits. They split with Morris. They split with Trinity Christian of Jacksonville. Those teams also, the Trinity series also had a rainout cancellation. Bob Jones wasn't going to do a makeup on a Sunday, you could tell that. But the Bruins are 2-2 overall, 2-2 this week, 5-8 overall. Columbia International had a nice series win over Bryan. They won 2 of 3 there. and improved to 3-1 for the week, 5-18 overall. They stayed in third place. Voorhees stayed in fourth place. They only played once last week, losing to Columbia International 23-4. The Tigers are 1-9. Then in fifth place, I have Morris. They were 1-2 last week with that win over Bob Jones, 2-7 overall. They played a tight game against Payne on Saturday at SRP Park in Augusta in the HBCU Classic down there. But again, 1-2, and they held on to fifth spot. Among National Junior College Athletic Association and U.S. Collegiate Athletic Association teams, we have Florence Darlington Tech staying number 1. The Stingers were 5-0 last week. They're now 18-5, and they've won their last 5 games. Sumter stayed number 2 in spite of a 1-4 week. They lost 2 games to Brunswick Community College, which is a Division II junior college power, coached by former Clemson player, Robbie Allen. And then the Fire Ants lost 2 of 3 to Gaston College, which is always tough, in a Region 10 series on Saturday over the weekend. The Fire Ants fell to 10-6. USC Union was 4-0 last week. They're now 12-4, stayed in third place. USC Lancaster stayed in fourth place. They lost the game to 2 games to Florence Darlington Tech, actually 3, 3 to Florence Darlington Tech, and they are now 1-3 this week, 9-9 overall. USC Salkehatchie was 0-4 last week. They're 3-18 overall, stayed in fifth place. And Denmark Tech got that win, 1-1, and they are 1-7 over the season so far. Well, how about a look at the week coming up as far as the schedule? There's only one game going on Monday. That is USC Union at USC Salkehatchie. 1 o'clock game down in Allendale. It was the makeup of the Friday. It's basically Saturday game got rained out. The series got pushed back by a day because of rainy issues. Some of the highlights of the schedule on Tuesday. Coastal Carolina is at North Carolina State at 3 o'clock. Winthrop and Michigan State play in Greenville at 3 o'clock at Ford Field. Presbyterian goes down to College Charleston at 4 o'clock. Francis Marion is at Coker at 6, and USC Upstate goes down to USC at 6:30. On Wednesday, some more good games matching up. The Georgia Southern is at the Citadel at 6. Michigan State and Clemson play at Ford Field at 6 o'clock, again in Greenville. Charleston Southern is at South Carolina at 6:30 in that game. Then on Thursday, there are no games scheduled. On Friday for the weekend, Charleston Southern opens CAA play with a series at Hofstra. Southern Wesleyan is at Erskine in Conference Carolinas play. Appalachian State is at Presbyterian. They'll actually have 3 different spots, one in Hickory, and the other 2 are each at home spots over the weekend. Clemson is at home against LaSalle. The Citadel's at Kentucky. Georgia State plays host to Charleston Southern. Wofford's at Belmont. East Carolina's at Coastal Carolina. Lander's at Augusta. Newberry's at Coker in a South Atlantic Conference series. Elsewhere, Winthrop goes down to Auburn to play 3 games. Good test for the Eagles. Again, they're off to a 9-2 start, so they've got a busy week this week. And USC Upstate starts the series out in Austin against the University of Texas. Among the series starting on Saturday, you've got USC Salkehatchie at Florence Darlington Tech, the doubleheader on Saturday. We have Gaston College at USC Union. It should be a good series, good challenge. And USC Sumter's at USC Lancaster in a doubleheader in Region 10 play. That's Edward Waters is at Benedict. Benedict's, again, trying to extend their winning streak from 8 games once they start the series over this next weekend. And that's pretty much the highlights of next week. Going back and doing the Palmetto Pulse, if you will. Who's hot and who's not. Going down by classification pretty much in the order of the team rankings. We've got Clemson that's being 3-1. Hey, they're 10-1 overall. 1, 2, or 3 against their great rival. I'd say that the pulse is pretty high right now. They're doing awfully fine. Charleston Southern, same thing. Don't know the last time they started off 10-1, if they ever have. They never started 7-0 until this past week. So Coach Carl Coon's got the Buccaneers really looking good right now. Ditto for Mike McGuire at Winthrop. The pulse is high there. The Eagles 9-2, coming off a 4-0 week. Get 7-game winning streak. Coastal Carolina, I think that win over Ole Miss on Sunday did a whole lot for their psyche. They were hurting a little bit after hearing about the two players being lost for a while for injury. They lost the two games to good teams, Texas and Texas San Antonio, but still they bounced back and get a really good win over Ole Miss today. They got behind. They could have, just shrugged their shoulders and said, "Oh well, we'll get somebody next week." But no, they fought back and really did well, won it going away. South Carolina, I've got to say their vibes are down, even though they had that tremendous outing on Friday. They didn't follow it up. They were coming off that loss to Queens as well, and Carolina doesn't seem to be able to keep much momentum. For instance, they got the 2 runs in the second inning of the Clemson game on Sunday, and try to keep a little momentum, shut the other team out, and just keep bringing the momentum back to your next at bat. Instead, Carolina had control problem. It was a walk and a hit batsman. The next thing you know, the score's tied, and things went downhill from there. So I think the Gamecocks are a little bit of a slide now. Although they probably feel a little bit better that even though they only won 1 of 3, they were competitive in the Clemson game, at least overall, except for some hitting issues. But they played close to the Tigers. Carolina hit 132 as a team, 4 hits in each of the 3 games. The Citadel, I think more than positive vibes, they're just probably frustrated vibes right now. I think they still feel good about the way they played overall. To play Florida State so close, but just come so close and get nothing out of it as far as in the win column. I'm sure it just kind of motivates the Bulldogs more to go from there. USC Upstate had a 3-2 week. I think they feel pretty good about themselves. They're really hitting the ball well overall. And I think having a good offense can cover a lot of other issues lots of the time. Wofford 3-1, 8-3 overall. I think they still feel pretty good about themselves. Probably did not enjoy giving up 5 runs in the final 2 innings to St. Joseph on Sunday. But again, I think generally positive vibes for the Terriers. College of Charleston, a 1-2 week. I'm sure they were expecting things to go better. Just doesn't seem like they could get over that hump right now. I think their vibes are down a little bit on the negative side. But after they get through the midweek and see how they go into CAA play and see if they can get started. Right now, even though they got a losing record, they're 0-0 in the conference, so there's always the chance to step up from there. Presbyterian, after starting off so strong with those 2 wins on opening day, really struggling. They got run ruled a couple of times this week. 10-game losing streak, really probably going to be pretty hard for the guys to keep from getting their heads dropping a little bit. But it's one of those things you got to keep on going out and expect better results the next day. In Division 2, North Greenville, I got to say their vibes are awfully positive right now, especially the way they won the rubber game of the series with that 29-run outburst. They're just knocking the cover off the ball. Josh Fowkes drove in 8 runs on Sunday. He's got, I think, 8 home runs. I might be off by 1 on that, but he's doing well. Francis Marion, even though they dropped 2 of 3 to North Greenville and they got whipped on Sunday, I think still generally positive vibes because they showed they can beat the team that's most folks say is the one to beat in the conference, and feel pretty good about that at 15-3. I think the positives down there. Ditto for USC Aiken in the Peach Belt. They've won 3 straight. They're at 14-3. That's an awfully good start for Keith Gorman's first year down there. Lander feeling pretty good under Nick Pop, I think. They're 12-6, doing well. Newberry probably did not enjoy losing 2 of 3 to Emory and Henry. That's a team they probably feel like they should have won the series over. But, generally positive, I think. More plus than minus there. Anderson, I'm sure they were very frustrated after giving up that late lead in the Sunday game, but still look at the overall picture. They're 13-5. That's pretty good this time of the season. Erskine had some good things happen last week. They're 7-13 now, so they probably feel a little bit better than themselves. They won 2 of 3 over Emmanuel, but probably would have liked to have gotten that sweep. Benedict, I think they're feeling about as good as you can right now. 8-3, 8-game winning streak, going well. Coker, I think, again, positive vibes. They're 4-13, but they're 3-1 over the last 4 games. I think they're 4-1 over the last 5. But feeling pretty good that things are turning around for them there. Southern Wesleyan probably feeling down a little bit. They're 5-13. They had the lead going into the final inning of Game 2 against Southern Wesleyan. Against UNC Pembroke on Saturday. and gave up 5 runs in the final inning, and Pembroke came back and won it to complete the sweep. Not a good feeling. USC Beaufort, again, they're having some tough times. They got no hit on Saturday by Keenan Pryor of Georgia College, and they wound up getting swept in that series. The Sand Sharks are 4-13. Claflin, right now they just seem like they're kind of overmatched. Lost 10 straight, 3-12 overall. Not a lot of good things have happened for them. I'm sure they're wanting to get a break here, a break there, and just maybe feel better, a little bit better about themselves as they go along. In division, in NAI and in NCCAA, Spartanburg Methodist, I know they'd love to have had the final game of that Johnson series. Probably feeling a little bit down right now, not being able to get that final run across. Had the bases loaded in the bottom of the 9th inning with the score tied. But it is what it is. Losing to Johnson is no disgrace. It's a good program. Dave Serrano, the former University of Tennessee coach, leads it, and they're ranked nationally in NAI. Bob Jones, feeling pretty good, I would say. 2-2, a couple of doubleheader splits. They were down 2-1. I believe it was in about the 5th inning, might have been the 4th, against Trinity in Game 1 on Saturday. They scored 11 runs late to win the game. They got a lot of help from Trinity pitchers with hits, batsmen, and wild pitches and walks. But, hey, they put across 13 runs, and every one of them counts. And then to be able to go and go off of that 13-run outburst and get shut out in Game 2, I'm sure that's got to knock them down a little bit. But, again, they're 5-8. They only won 10 games all of last year, so I'm sure they feel like, they may be ahead of the game a little bit based on where they were last year. Columbia International, been a frustrating year for their first-year coach, Rocky Musgraves. They went 3-1, got 2 wins over Bryan, even though Bryan has struggled a little. They're generally one of the better teams in the AAC. So even though Columbia International is only 5-18, they were 3-1 over the last 4 games, and I think they're feeling better about themselves now. Voorhees only got to play 1 game last week, got blown out. I'm sure they're a little bit down after that, losing by 19 runs. And I think it's probably tough too to build a lot of momentum when you only play like 1 time a week. Had some rainouts, and so I know they'd like to be able to get back on a more consistent basis of playing. Morris, I think feels pretty good. They were able to get a win at Bob Jones. Anytime you win, that's good. And they played Payne very close on Saturday night down in North Augusta. Payne pulled away late as a 2-run game in about the 6th inning or 7th inning before Payne pulled away to win that game. Among junior college teams in the USCCAA, Forest Arms Tech's got to be feeling really good right now. They're 5-0 this past week, 18-5. I think the vibes are positive there. Sumter, 1-4. I think still generally overall they're okay. They had a tough week, losing to Brunswick, which, as I mentioned before, is coached by former Clemson player Robbie Allen and is a ranked team in the Division II junior college level, and then losing 2 to Gaston College. So I think if they look at the competition they're playing, they probably feel okay about the fact they even went 1-4 last week. USC Union, 4-0 last week, some good wins, 12-4 overall. That's a good record for the Bantams of Coach Michael Stansel. USC Salcahatchee has been a tough year, 3-18, went 0-4 last week. I know that they will like to have some good things happen to them and give them a little bit of a lift. And I believe Denmark Tech is probably generally on the positive thing. They're coming off the first win any of these guys can remember. A lot of them probably were not even born the last time Denmark Tech won a game. So I think any sport, when you have a little bit of success and you get some rewards for what's going on, I think you feel better about it. And they probably had a little extra pep in their step the next time they practiced after that, and are wanting to looking forward to getting back on the field again. But that's that's just the way I feel. That's the Palmetto Pulse. I hope you've enjoyed watching this. I hope it's not a waste of your time or a waste of my time, but I just want to try to help to give recognition to the sport of college baseball in South Carolina. I've been doing this since 2008 or before the 2009 season. I haven't been doing this video stuff, but covering college baseball involving state teams. I think college baseball is a great sport. I think it's underrated as the excitement of it, and there's good level of play on all levels. Again, you can read stuff that I write at PalmettoStateBaseball.com. If you're not familiar with it, I do a daily schedule and score list. I do highlights. I do, not video highlights because I don't have any cameras, but, written highlights of who's doing hot and things like that. I do updates during games and other pertinent notes on my X handle of Palmetto Base. And then I also have a Facebook group page called Palmetto State Baseball Group. Also, every Thursday I try to publish a podcast, just kind of going over what's going on in the state. Something similar to this, but it's in audio form, and also gives me a chance to look ahead to the weekend as to what's going on. But again, I just hope you enjoy college baseball in South Carolina as much as I do, and you find what information I'm providing you to be useful in some way. You can always contact me at Rudy Jones at PalmettoStateBaseball.com if you have questions or suggestions as to what I should do. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to this. I hope you have a great week. And this is Rudy Jones saying, Jesus loves you, and good night.